Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Career Chats. This is the show where we talk to real people in real jobs about their real experiences. Today I'm going to be talking to Kevin, who is a manager at a financial consultancy firm. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and I hope you enjoy. Kevin, I hope this is recording. I just want to say thank you very much for agreeing to talk to me today. You are obviously a manager for a financial consultancy firm. So would you like to maybe start off and talk to us a little bit about your work, what your daily life is like, and what exactly you do?
Yeah, hi AnneMarie, thanks for having me. So my name is Kevin Brown and I'm an assistant manager in JDX Consulting Ireland Limited, which is a financial consultancy firm based out of London, but we have a small operation here in Dublin. We specialise in anti-money laundering practices within global banks. So I manage a team of 17 individuals from JDX Consulting who work on behalf of our client in their anti-money laundering department. So basically what I do day to day is if a new business wants to come bank with the bank I work in, they have to have a certain level of regulatory documents, and we need to do background checks into all those, into that company and their management board. So basically what I spend my day doing is gathering information on companies, when they're registered, their date of inc, where their address is, whether they're regulated by, say, the Central Bank of Ireland in Ireland, who their directors are and who actually owns the company. I then have to screen all those names on third-party service providers, and basically if there's any negative news on any financial publications about these companies, I have to analyse those negative news results and see if this client is trustworthy to be banking with the bank I work in. So basically I'm just doing background checks on companies that are coming to bank with my client, the client I work on.
Mm-hmm. So is that what you'd be doing like every day from like 9 to 5?
Yeah, well, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, those sort of hours, and yeah, pretty much. So you kind of get through one client a week because there's an awful lot of background work, and then you have to build a profile and put it into our online systems. So it takes about a week from start to finish to get through one client. So it's kind of one client a week. But yeah, start to finish, like obviously we have our office admin that goes around that, and I'm a manager as well, so I have like timesheet approvals and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But my actual business as usual work is 9 to 5, as you said, doing these background searches and finding out what I can about these companies I want to bank with the bank I work in.
Wow, so it obviously must be like fairly rigorous if you only get like one client done in one day, because when you were talking initially, I was like, okay, yeah, so you might get a couple of clients done in a day, but obviously not.
No, like so our policy for what a client would have to hit to be actually accepted to bank with us is relatively rigorous, and a lot of stuff is hard to actually find publicly. So I'll be doing a lot of Google searches and negative news searches, but like not everything is actually, like a lot of stuff is behind paywalls online, like in financial publications, that sort of thing. So a lot of these accesses are hard to get. So there are a lot of roadblocks, but the actual, like I say, it takes a week to get a client done, but I'm not flat out. Like I'll have several clients at once that I'll be working on, because I can only go so far before I have to request access or ask for something from our sales team in the front office, or go out to the client themselves and say, like, for example, like the owner of a company, we'd need their passport, and like I'm obviously never going to find that online myself, so we need to email them and get them to actually provide the scanned documents for us. So like that's obviously a roadblock that can delay it for 2 or 3 days. So if I've everything done I could do on that client and I'm waiting on this passport, it could delay me for a few days. So like I'm constantly juggling 2 or 3 cases, but you'll be completing at least once a week if that's kind of what's expected of you. Yeah, that's it.
And has there been much difference in your work or what you do, like pre-COVID to now, or is it just like a matter of working in a different space?
Yeah, so like, yeah, obviously it's changed drastically. Like obviously we were in the office before there'd be 20 of us sitting relatively close to one another. Knowledge sharing then was a lot easier. So like obviously if you're sitting in a row of 4 people, you can just turn to your desk mate and ask them a quick question. It's like, oh, do you understand this? But now like that's like we have phone calls, we have Skype, we have Zoom meetings, we have all this, but it's not the same as just actually having that touch contact with someone to ask them that question. So I think knowledge sharing has dropped off considerably since we've gone into COVID. I see it particularly when obviously new people have started working with us since we've started working from home in lockdown. And I think they've struggled to get to the level that the rest of us would have in the same time period, because we would have learned in the office. And then like when this is, I find anyway, for all cases, is that like when you're in the office, you seem to be switched on more often all the time. Like I'm working in my bedroom now. I don't know if you can see that, but it's hard to remain as productive, especially a year into this COVID epidemic, that it's hard to maintain your productivity. But then obviously like you have your deadlines to hit as well. But yeah, I think initially when I started working from home with COVID, I really enjoyed it. But come the turn of the new year, I think I was just wanting to get back to the office at least a couple of days a week for that social interaction, for that knowledge sharing. You feel like you've done more in a day, especially when you're commuting an hour and a half each way or that sort of thing. I don't know, like it was a lot more taxing in the office, but a little bit more rewarding as well, I think.
I think, yeah, what you said about knowledge sharing is really important, and I think a lot of people are definitely missing that, especially like just being able to like bounce ideas off people and get their feedback and things, so that's a really good point. I think a lot of people are missing that and that element of the work. So if someone was thinking about getting involved in the work that you do, what kind of qualities do you think they'd need to have?
I think the biggest thing in our role is having like a good command of English language and understanding of legal writing. Like we can all read novels and everything, but it's different when you're reading like the constitutional document of a company that was set up and like what their goals are, to actually legally understand exactly the importance of the wording. So yeah, like for me, I think something that stood out when going in is just having that a good understanding and command of English. Communication skills as well, especially now when working from home, like when you're emailing someone or communicating via your office messenger, like to get your point across clearly, you have to be really careful in how you're wording what you're saying, because different people can pick up different sentences in various different ways. So I think the biggest thing initially for me was definitely being like your command of English, how well you could communicate through script as opposed to vocally. And then just time management, I think. And I think that's something the Leaving Cert really taught me. Looking back on my time in school, is like when I was studying initially, I was very inefficient in what I was doing, but as we got closer to June, started using my time more effectively, and I think that's really stood to me. And like obviously you go through college, you pick up that sort of thing, but yeah, time management and communication for me, I think, are massive things in the role I'm currently in.
Okay, wow, okay, that's a good point. So what can you tell us how you got into this role? Maybe can you just talk to us about like your college experience, because obviously I know that you did something completely unrelated. So can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so my background is a bit bizarre, I suppose. So my favourite subject in for Leaving Cert was geography. So I ended up, and like I was really interested in science as well. So I ended up choosing science in UCD as the omnibus course as my CEO choice, which I got. And then I went into science omnibus course, and as that works in UCD, you narrow and specify into your different streams as the years goes on. So by third year, I had fully selected my stream, which ended up being geology, which is the study of rocks for anyone who doesn't know, rocks, earth science, and hydrocarbons. So I was looking at the time, my thought process was like, I'll get involved in the oil industry. I'll go up to the Arctic and get involved in one of those Arctic rigs. But like as I went through college, I think halfway through third year, I realized that to get a decent job within that industry, because it's so specialized. You had to at least do a master's and then a PhD afterwards. And I was fed up enough of third level education at that stage. I just wanted to get working. So halfway through third year, I decided, right, I'm not going to pursue this, but I'm going to finish my full undergrad. So I finished my 4 years in UCD and got a 2-1 in geology, Bachelor of Science in Geology. And then what I did is, when I graduated, myself and my friends, we went to Thailand for 2 months, and I didn't think about anything. Came back, and then I was like, right, it was September, better go find a job. So I ended up going to jobs.ie, I think it was, one of the online job providers or whatever, and applied for a few jobs that seemed to fit my interest and skill levels. And this one really stood out to me, not necessarily the work that I'd be doing, but the company itself. They really sold themselves on a social culture, which I was like, right, brilliant. Like, I'll go to this interview, see how it goes. Another thing is they really reward their early starters. So there's good chance for progression early on. So I've been in this job 3 years, and I'm already managing a team of 17 people, which is great. Like, I was glad that trust was given to me. So it was that potential that initially attracted me to the job. I went to the interview, met my then manager. He interviewed me at the time. Thought he was a great guy. The work sounded interesting. It sounded like I'd definitely be able to do it. I said, right, I'll give it a go. And yeah, then I started getting into the into the finer detail of the actual job, and found I really enjoyed it. Like, digging into companies' backgrounds can be quite interesting and scandalous sometimes. And obviously, I'm not going to discuss any details, but started enjoying the job. It was a good desk job, and I found another really good thing with it is the work-life balance that I do have. So, like, I'm never really working more than 8 to 6 p.m. every day. That's like the max I do. Sometimes you'll have overtime or the odd bit of weekend work, but like I know I have friends who are in other companies that are working 50, 60-hour weeks, whereas I'm like max 45, which is another thing that appealed to me initially. And obviously I've progressed since then, and I'm enjoying it. So unconventional route. I think because I didn't know what I was going to do when I finished my degree, and just looked at the job description. It sounded good. I went for it, and then the people after that is really what got me involved and kept me involved.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, do like other people who are working in there come from similar backgrounds, or do they come from a financial background, or what? Do you know? I know that's a random question.
Yeah, for the most part, a lot of people would have financial backgrounds. So a lot of people, there's this master's in management consultancy in UCD at the minute, out of the Michael Smurfit Graduate School. So a lot of people that we hire have actually completed that, but obviously, like, Michael Smurfit's the top business school in Dublin, and then we're like an up-and-coming financial services firm in Dublin. So we're at all their open days, and like, you know, those town halls where everyone walks around and you get a pen and you sign up for something. Like, I'm the guy at that now, trying to get people to sign up.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have a presence that way. A lot of people do come from financial backgrounds, but then there are loads like myself that have started looking after their degree. So we have people from legal backgrounds, more people from science. There's a guy that studied ag science that works with us, ag science in UCD. So yeah, I'd say we're about 60% financial background, and then 40% like random miscellaneous from about the place. But like, it's not a requirement in our consultancy, because you do get fully trained up upon starting a job. That's what I found, is like, what you do in college doesn't necessarily define what you have to go into afterwards, because we were trained in the job that we would be doing afterwards, and what I'd done beforehand didn't matter. And what I found is there's a slight advantage for those who would have done economics or finance in college, but it's negligible. They do have a small advantage, but they might pick things up quicker initially, but it's how well you fit into a team and work with, really, I find. So yeah, the lack of financial background hasn't hampered me at all.
Okay, that's good. I suppose that's good for a lot of people to know that essentially you can kind of study what you're interested in and still get a really rewarding career that might not necessarily be related to it. Like I was talking to you before we came on about my friend who works in insurance in London, and she's like one of the only people that she's ever worked with that has a degree in insurance. You know, a lot of people have come from like arts degrees or science degrees and things like that, and I guess like a lot of the time employers are just looking for someone who has a degree because it shows that you can work hard, put the head down, that you're intelligent, you know, so it's not, you don't necessarily need a specific degree related to that field. So that's really good that that's available here too. um what did I want to ask you? Oh yeah, so you kind of mentioned a little bit about career advancement. So it seems like there are opportunities for career advancement in your particular occupation or role. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so the company I'm working in has a yearly review cycle, and when even on, sorry, let me start again. We have our yearly performance review cycles, and there is great opportunity for you to advance through the first 3 stages at your first 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fortunate enough that actually when I joined the company, we were a new startup in Dublin. Obviously, we're London based, but when I joined, everyone that was here ahead of me was London based, who was here on a 6 or 9 month project.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually the second Irish person that the company ever hired.
Mm-hmm.
I came in, and over the 6 or 9 months, each of those London based consultants that I was working with moved back home or back to London or onto different projects.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of nowhere, I just progressed up to being one of our more senior guys. I hit that 12-month mark. I got my promotion because I'd been hitting my targets.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, after another 12 months, I was promoted again. And just recently, at the end of my 4th year, I was promoted for the 3rd time. So I've gone up the 3 ranks. The company has really rewarding structure that does let you advance relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you look across the industry. Like, we compare ourselves to the big 4 the whole time. KPMG, Accenture, EY, and like I have friends who are doing the grad course in those companies, and they're on the same starting wage that they started off on, whereas I've progressed in the same time span. So I think that's something really important, that you don't sign yourself into a 3-year grad program that won't see your quality of life being any better in 3 years' time. I think once you have these goals and kind of pathway outlined for yourself beforehand, it's easy to hit those targets and keep moving, which is fortunately for me that my company does have that system in place, which is probably my favorite thing about working from that, and the social aspect that we do have.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because like a lot of companies don't have that sort of system or structure in place where they have like a yearly review. I can imagine it is quite like, again, it's probably quite rigorous, because like you mentioned that you have to meet your target. So you naturally, I would imagine, have to demonstrate that you deserve this promotion. Is that right?
Yeah, so like obviously with each level that you're moving up through, the requirements for what you have to actually be achieving, they're getting more difficult. Mm-hmm. So like after the first level was like, are you good at doing your job? Mm-hmm. Have you settled in well? Are you hitting your targets? Grand. And then the next level, I'd have actually 2 brand new joiners that actually report to me directly, and I help them with, like, we call it a buddy system. Mm-hmm. But essentially I was their career managers. I have to hold one-to-ones with them monthly, like basically manage them so that they are hitting their goals, so they can hit the same promotion that I would have hit. So yeah, like as each level goes on, you do get additional responsibilities, and I've moved up from being that guy that came in to managing those 2 girls to now managing 17 people, and I deal directly with the director of the company that my project is based in. So I'm like the point of contact between the 17 of us, my consultant boss, and then my client boss. So like obviously as you move up, your targets are going to become higher and harder.
Yeah. Okay, well that's brilliant. Yeah, that's really good news. And obviously, are there still yearly promotions even with COVID, or has that been put on hold a bit?
Yeah, so last year was a bit unfortunate for some individuals. We've yearly cycles, but there's 2 cycles in the year, so you're either on the September cycle or on the March cycle. And those that were on the March cycle last year had their promotions delayed by 4 months just at the start of COVID, because the company didn't know, like, all the offices closed. A lot of our consultants weren't given work from home access from our clients. So all of a sudden we had 80 individuals globally that were working one day, and then next day we still had to pay them, but obviously they weren't making any money for the banks or for the firm. So their promotions were delayed 4 months, which was like, there was a lot of kind of controversy at the time. HR were massively busy. The company didn't know, like, were we going to survive that 4 month period. But I think the company is quite young. Like, we focus on hiring new grads, so the body of our workforce would be between 80% of us are between 22 and 30 years of age. And like, obviously that workforce can adapt to working from home a lot quicker than, say, the boomers and your dad and your mum. Which is what I find. Like, I when I'm on the phone to my mum at home and I show her the office setup I'm sitting in currently, and she like thinks it's mad. It's like, you don't have to go to the office anymore. It's like, no, I can do everything from here. I have my phone. Like, I'm on video calls like I am now. Like, my emails are here. It's all done from this spot. So like when she used to work, she's retired now, but she used to work on like this tiny little laptop. She was hunched over on the kitchen table. She used to hate the days where she worked from home because she couldn't do anything. But I think because we're a newer generation, and obviously things have come on technologically a good bit since then, that like the workforce adapted really quickly to getting everyone working from home.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of us, we were already kind of booming anyway, even before COVID hit, and we are fairly up to date with the technological advances and things like that. So I think that's definitely, like you said, helped people adapt to working from home a lot better. Okay, so Kevin, I think that's it. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I think people will find it really useful and really beneficial. And as always, like, the comment section will be open below this, so if anyone has any questions, they can pop in and just comment below, and both I'll moderate anyway, Kevin, even if you don't, and I can pop any questions over to you if I get something that I can't answer. Is that okay with you?
That's absolutely perfect, AnneMarie. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to speak to you.